we have a lot of catching up to do.
So let's do it.
Hello, P-Pals! I am Jonah54, and welcome back to Catching Up, the self-explanatory series, where we catch up in more ways than one. Catching up on my life with you guys, and catching up my save file in Super Mario Galaxy. We have a lot more to do in this game in this episode, and a lot more to talk about than we did in the previous episode. So let's get right into it. We'll be talking about Fall 2019 in this episode. Last time we did Summer 2019. So, let's start with moving in. And I have to sneeze. I don't do that very often on camera. But I suppose that's an exception. Yes, indeed, moving in. So, I moved into my location, which obviously was a different one from freshman year. Oh, there we go. Take a look at the galaxies, yeah. So, I moved into a different dorm that was on the other side of campus. And it's a pretty cool one, actually, for a number of reasons. One, it's not that far away from, campus buildings and all that. So it's convenient in terms of proximity, although there are a ridiculous amount of stairs in that area. So a lot of climbing up stairs to get to classes, which thankfully I am a trained professional in because I lived close to WPI and frequently visited there, and their campus is absolutely loaded to the brim with stairs, but the open house tours that they do conveniently, strategically avoid as many stairs as possible. It's funny. It's funny as shit. So, yeah, I mean, by the way, welcome to Good Egg Galaxy. Good ass music, by the way. I got new speakers for this TV, so you should be able to hear it even better. Partially a joke, by the way, because I'll be editing in the audio, the game audio anyway, from Elgato. But yeah, yeah, I mean, the location was quite nice, and that wasn't where the convenient things ended. Much like my freshman dorm, there were, it was one room to a bathroom, unlike a lot of other dorms, which was nice. The lighting within the rooms was total ass. The lighting is so bad. It was like, the layout of the rooms is like, let me see if I can actually compare it to right here. So, let's say this is my bed. Mario did the circles thing, but I was sort of moving in a circle anyway, so. Let's say this grass patch is my bed, okay? And this grass patch right here, this grass patch right here is my roommate's bed, Alright? This is the one ceiling light in the room right here. This orange pipe is the one ceiling light in the room for these two beds right here, my desk right here, his desk right here, and the bathroom right here. Gotta illuminate the bathroom. I mean, at least the bathroom itself had its own light and its own door, obviously. So, not much of a point in that, but oh well, right? So yeah. So, yeah, oh, okay, that's how you shoot star bits with that. Okay, good to know. So, that's probably why the crouch is specifically with one hand. So, yeah, the room could have been a little better, but, I mean, it was pretty good for what it was. I wish I could have stayed in there longer, but, the second semester was cut off by Corona, which I'll talk about next episode. So, yeah, I like to consider Fall 2019 to be the last good semester, because it was the last one that wasn't online at all. And I'll talk about that later. So, and I don't know if things could have gone any differently if I even knew that it was going to be the last good semester, because I basically made every last bit of use of my last good semester without even knowing it was my last good semester. Fall 2019 was by far the most chaotic semester in the best possible way. It was absolutely insane, and looking back, I would not have it any other way, and I'm excited to talk about it a little more. But first, let's continue talking about my room and the area with it. So, the place that I stayed in was actually, it used to be a hotel. It used to be a hotel, and then it was bought off by RPI to be used as a dorm. And so that's where I lived, and there were two main things that really stuck out later in the semester that were incredibly awesome. One, it's air conditioned. As a New Englander, that's extremely important to me. When it's available, it truly does indeed make all the difference. So that's wonderful. And then the other big difference that truly proved itself was it has its own it has its own dining hall. Let's do a double shake real quick. Oh yeah, I love doing that. It has its own dining hall, and it just so happened to be the best dining hall on campus. I said previously in the last episode that my favorite food is grilled cheese. Well, let me tell you, they had grilled cheese for days at that dining hall, and it was the best quality you could get on campus. The only problem was it didn't exactly meet that standard on the weekends. It was mainly a weekdays thing, but I could handle that. There were other decent dining halls on the weekends, and, you know, that's fine. The only other issue was, ow, that's fine. I healed myself immediately upon getting hit. Let's actually kill some of these rocks, because we can do that on the red light that they have. Nice. Surprisingly generous. So, the only other thing was that it was very limited with time. It was only like 3 hours a day that they would serve that kind of stuff. And my class schedule on one of those days, I would specifically have a class during those 3 hours. So, it was a thing. It was definitely a thing. So yeah, I mean, but the dining hall in general was awesome, and it had good lounge rooms that I could have probably made better use of looking back on it, but when I did use them, they were quite good. I just didn't have a huge amount of friends that would also be interested in using the lounge rooms, so I wouldn't use them very often. I would really only use them for stuff like, for example, the Nintendo Direct reactions that we did at the... Whoa, okay, that's what they were talking about with walking in circles. Wow, I just tried to do a U-turn with Mario, and he decided to do a 720-degree dance move on me. That does not happen on the Wii, ever. So that's interesting. So yeah, the Nintendo Direct reactions that we did at the beginning of the semester, which marked the beginning of a mega hiatus, which lasted the entire semester, because of how busy the fall semester was. And yeah, I mean, I kind of had no choice because of how crazy that semester was, and I'm happy with the way it turned out, so, you know, what can you do? I will say, though, my room took a while to actually set up the way that I wanted it to, but that's just because I was very particular about that kind of thing. I don't know which way is actually longer, but I usually go this way when I do this mission, and then when I do the speed run, I go the other way. Might as well show off both. This is supposed to be preparing to continue a walkthrough, after all. So, yeah. And I have to say, I do think out of all of the sophomore dorms, I picked the best one. One of my other friends was also planning on living there, and had to change, like, last second, and the choice was, like, out of her control. And she ended up in a much farther away from campus dorm, that, you know, I was disappointed that I wasn't able to, live in the same building. That is something that blew my mind when I was watching another playthrough of this. I didn't know that you could just walk up and shake there. I thought you had to wait for it to pop out of the ground. No, you can actually attack it while it's underground. I didn't know that. And I was doing a walkthrough of this game. My god. I need to increase the quality of my walkthroughs, I tell you that. But yeah, in the end, regardless, I'm glad that I chose the dorm that I did, you know. I don't think there are any better choices. It wasn't without its flaws, but, you know, it was still something I was wholly satisfied with. Now let's fight Dino Piranha. Such a cool way to introduce you to the first boss in the game. You've only learned so many mechanics, so they can only use so many in the first boss. Oh yeah, HD saliva stretches in the mouth, or whatever their name is. Oh yeah, look at those. You know this man eats Doritos. I wish you could collect Starbits during the cutscenes. Make my job a lot easier, because I need to match my Starbit count in the walkthrough as well, which I suppose I could use some of the last episode's time to do, as in the final episode. But, you know, I want to still collect Starbits along the way, because I have hungry Lumas to feed. A whole bunch of them. And I want to spend as little time grinding as possible, but I've already collected 200 on this very first mission, so that's nice. So, yeah. That is our first regular star. Going back to the observation dome. And now let's learn how to shoot Starbits, shall we? Oh, gotta reset the gyro. There we go. So one of the first things that happened in the semester, you know, classes were starting up, and club meetings were starting up. I had been in the Pokemon Club previously. I was planning on continuing that, something I wasn't really able to do while taking data structures, so... if you space these out just right, you actually make a profit out of this cutscene. Because you collect 7 Starbits, and then you use 1, 2, 3... 4... 5. You get 2 out of that. Your fee for this lesson? What do you mean your fee? I gained Starbits from that lesson. Yeah, you have to tap in handheld mode. That's, well, I mean, there's not much else you can do in handheld mode, so, you know. Just don't play this game in handheld mode. I don't know why you would, but don't do it. So the Pokemon Club first meeting happened, and oh, okay. That also resets the gyro. Apparently, it just costs you a Starbit to do so. A snack of cosmic proportions, where we do have to collect more Starbits. So let's go back to my very first semester. The first meeting of Pokemon Club I ever attended. You know, I met a whole bunch of really cool people. I'm still friends with to this day, and probably will be forever, hopefully. And yeah, I mean, the crazy thing that happened during that meeting was the tournament that they held. They held a, try to remember the name of the meta. Challenge Cup 1v1, I think it was. Basically, you're given a randomized team, and you have to choose one of the 6 Pokemon that you're given to then face off against one of the 6 Pokemon that your opponent has to decide the battle. They only had so much time, so it was single game. And through some sheer bout of fucking insanity, I won the entire tournament. Me, someone who has little to no knowledge of competitive Pokemon battling, and only knows like 1 or 2 strategies that only sort of work in certain situations, was able to win in this crazy randomized meta. and I actually ended up getting as a prize like this really cool Pokemon card, which apparently Pokemon cards are now all the craze. But ow! My shake didn't come out, probably because I barely shook. But gotta give it more oomph, I suppose. Yeah, so the reason I bring this up is because one of the friends that I made during that meeting, well, he ended up winning the first meeting of Fall 2019 in the exact same meta. And I was also making my way through that bracket, and I think there was like, both of our teams had a Butterfree, and we decided to do like a Butterfree Ditto. And by that I don't mean Butterfree versus Ditto, I mean Butterfree versus Butterfree. And for the meme, basically I decided to do it. And I ended up losing because of it, and that was in a best of 3. I actually think it was... I was up a game, and then we decided to do that, and then I lost that game and the next game. So basically, I threw the tournament for a meme. Throwing for content. I mean, I am a YouTuber after all. I have experience in doing that. No, I'm just kidding. I don't do that. My content is genuine. I don't have any reason to throw for content because I don't do this for a job, which is awesome. You always get more genuine content out of people who don't have to worry about it paying their bills. So, anyway, yeah, my friend ended up winning that tournament, and I was cheering for him the whole way. I'm like, let's go, dude! It was awesome. It truly was. So we're almost at the amount that we need to feed that hungry Luma, so we can just go right there, I think, after doing this, which I might as well... Wow, that was luck. That was awesome. Oh yeah, that's another thing. The Wiimote sound that plays when you collect a Starbit, that plays after the... So it goes... isn't there, so the Starbit sounds are like way more underwhelming now, which is unfortunate. You won't get to hear my Wiimote sounds during my walkthrough, which was sort of unique to my walkthrough. You don't hear those Wiimote sounds in other playthroughs of the game. And you probably never will again, because everyone's going to play it on the Switch instead. Or on Dolphin, where their setup would also not be akin to doing that. Let's talk to this hungry Luma, who should only need 100 Starbits if memory serves properly. Yes indeed. Let's aim, and let's not miss the way that EE did on Twitter. If you guys have seen that. That was hilarious. He emptied his entire Starbit count, like, off to the corner of the screen, and as he was doing it, he was like, man, this thing is a glutton. God, that was so funny. He should... If he ever wants to become a game journalist, that's all he needs on his application. So yeah, the first semester the Fall 2019 semester started out with a bang. Me throwing the tournament for a meme and watching my friend win. That's awesome. That's exactly the kind of thing that I wanted to see. One of the things that also made it better was one of my other friends, who was just starting to get into the club, became its vice president. So yeah. Or was that a year later? I can't remember. All I know is that it wasn't long after that he became the club's president. And we started to have more diversity in the meetings that we had, and by that I mean diversity of stuff that we did. Like, it wasn't just doing random, like, metas on Showdown, which it was actually doing, like, cool, interesting things. I had mentioned previously that I rewatched Detective Pikachu. This is when I did it, was with the club. And let me tell you something, watching that movie with friends is awesome. It's always good, because that movie is designed with that in mind, because there's always something that, you're gonna miss that somebody else won't. It's specifically designed with that in mind. Also, this specific part right here, when I was over at a friend's place during like a year after Fall 2019 when we were playing this on the Switch, he got crushed right there, and we both lost our shit at it happening because he pulled himself up onto the ledge and then got crushed, and we were both like, oh! We both burst out laughing. Also, Mario smashing his head into the glass with no pain at all. Let's go, dude. And who needs blue star chips when you can just do this? That's the power of long jumping, baby. I miss the Galaxy in 64 style long jump. Also, the game loads a lot quicker than it does on the Wii, which is nice. So, yeah, I miss the Galaxy in 64 style long jump where it's actually a long jump. Ever since 3D Land, the long jump has been so underwhelming. So we discovered a new galaxy, but we're gonna go back to Galaxy to fight King Caliente. There's this really funny video called Super SpongeBob Galaxy, where it's edited so that King Caliente is Captain Magma, as in Squidward as a superhero going, Krakatoa! And then it cuts to Patrick going, are you Squidward? No, I'm not Squidward. Are you Squidward now? Yeah, so I mentioned that I did my Nintendo Direct reactions. The friend that I mentioned who won the Pokemon Club tournament was also in that reaction. We're just gonna do that. No, I think we need a triple jump. So he was in those reactions. He was one of the louder ones. He's generally he generally gets very hype at things. So he's a good candidate for putting in reactions for crazy moments. Like me, he gets very hype at things. Anywho, so yeah, they just decided to announce like 50 million things. That Direct, it was insane. And then some people had the nerve to call the Direct underwhelming or meh. That was one of the best Directs ever. And it was also one of the only ones that we got for quite some time. In fact, I think we didn't get any Directs in 2020, so I think that was actually the last Direct until the one in February of this year. What am I doing? Yeah. We're not gonna skip this planet, though, because I want to kill these chomps. Yeah, they just decided to announce like a million things. Obviously, they announced Terry Bogard being in Smash. A character I didn't know, but a character I was excited to see in the game because I like seeing fighting game characters getting represented in Smash. And he seemed pretty goddamn awesome, especially in the full reveal where they revealed his moveset, which is so cool. Come on, I want to kill the chomps, let's go! Don't have much time left. The music's getting faster, come on! No! Oh, that's underwhelming. You get to live today. I wish you didn't, I wish you didn't, but you get to live today. Can you actually get inside there? Probably not, right? Yeah. I think that hole's just there for chomps to roll into. Apparently Mario is also for chomps to roll into. Did Chomp just kill the Goomba? Awesome. Nice. Also, the chomps look funny when they fall in there. Especially from certain angles, they just look funny. Yeah, so... Oh, gotta dodge them. There we go. Ah! There we go. Gravity's a little funky, but this is Galaxy, that's to be expected. Let's see if I can make a bullet bill break this glass. No, I almost had it. Alright, we're not gonna mess around there. So, they announced Terry, and they also decided to just shadow drop Banjo. That was pretty wild. Yeah, all the streamers that I was watching reactions of were like, well, I guess I know what I'm streaming today. Almost just died. I was like, I guess I know what I'm streaming later today. Yeah. of course, then we address the elephant in the room, the Sans Me costume, which absolutely fucking broke the internet, and us. We were certainly all about to have a bad time. What we didn't realize was the bad time was just referring to the following calendar year. Alright, let's go and fight King Caliente. It's really starting to look like my camera's gonna run out of battery before I finish this episode, which I wish wasn't the case, but I think it will be. I think it will be. What? That's fucking bullshit. Oh my god. What the fuck was that? I got hit before I could even move. Did his tentacle hit me? That is some bullfuck right there. I'm so salty right now. A swipe. Alright, anyway. Yeah, shoot your coconut so I can push it right back at you. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Got him. I'm mad. Yeah, that direct was pretty insane. And following those two reactions going up, I stepped away from the channel for that semester because it was a very intense and stressful semester, and I wanted to keep my life on campus and not sacrifice it for some uploads that probably wouldn't have been the highest quality because I would have been worried about other things while making them. I'm a perfectionist. So, let's talk about why that is. Let's talk about my classes. In my most recent vlog, which is where this series picked up from, I talked about how excited I was for all the different classes I was taking. And in all fairness, I was pretty much right about all of them. So, the class that I took, Multivariable Calculus and Matrix Algebra, crazy name for a math class, it was awesome. As an engineer, I love the calculus section of math, and so I enjoyed that part of the math as well. But because of how good my professor was, I also thoroughly enjoyed the matrix algebra portion, which engineers don't tend to enjoy, at least the theoretical side of things, because we don't like theory, we like applications. Which theory came up a lot in one of my other classes, which apparently has been a shit show in almost every semester except the one I took it in, which is funny. Also, B Mario. We can fly now. It's awesome. Okay. I like how Donkey's review of this game, he just stops to explain like everything about the bee suit. For no apparent reason, he just does it. Straight flying, straight flying, straight flying, straight flying. Gotta watch out for these, though. Oh, there's a question mark coin up there. Let's get it. Wait, no, is there? No, there's just coins. Okay. Still useful if you want to fly over those flip bugs. Oh, one up. One up you almost die for. Which tends to... What the fucking ball sack? That guy just fell down with me. I wasn't planning on editing these episodes that intensively, but I'm gonna have to put a replay there.
Skip it about and that up.
Holy shit, dude. The remasters of these games they seem to be a little janky. There's some shit that's happening, I tell you that. So yeah, that class was pretty awesome, especially towards the end. I remember the last lecture of that class, we all applauded for the for the professor because of how wholesome he was. And this was back in 2019 when everybody said the word wholesome. So, yeah, we need to find one of those springy, bouncy flowers, which is apparently from Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, which was by the same developers of this game. Sub-developers, at the very least. development team. There we go. That's the term. There we go. Now let's fly up to the launch star. My other class is Computer Components and Operations. Was a class where it was some of the coolest material I've ever learned. It just wasn't taught well. Now, the alternative was to take a class where the material was taught even worse. In this, oh god, in this other class, which I have a little bit of a conspiracy theory that, because it's the computer hardware class that the computer science majors take, I have a little conspiracy theory that those classes are intentionally taught badly, so that computer science majors are repelled from the topics of computer hardware, and they stay in software. Because hardware is the fucking bomb if it's taught even remotely well. And I love that class purely because of the material. As for my other class, Foundations of Computer Science, it was pretty much entirely theoretical, and I hated it because of that. But I had the greatest lecturer of all time for that class. So ridiculously funny. He was loud, so you would never get bored during his lectures. I would often get tired in the mornings when I would be taking that class, but I wouldn't have to worry about that kind of thing in terms of paying attention in his class, because he would always be loud in the best possible way and keep my attention for the entirety of the lectures, which was great. He also was doing remote lectures before it was cool. And by that I mean there was an overflow room because the lecture hall couldn't fit everyone. And also this part's weird. It's still weird to this day. Where's the last one? I see it. The beefer looks interesting on the Switch. Newbie. So yeah, and then the last class, there was engineering processes, which started out as a low-stress class and then became my highest stress class as I realized that my semester-long project was way behind. But then there was the other class, a class known as Embedded Control, or Laboratory Introduction to Embedded Control, or LITEC for short. Which to this day is the best class I've ever taken. But also at that time was the hardest. Yep. Harder than data structures. I know. Not something I expected, but something that happened and then would continue to happen. And compared to a lot of classes I've taken now, data structures is kind of a joke. But let me tell you something. LITEC was fucking amazing in terms of its quality. I didn't even care how hard it was just an amazing class. It was everything I wanted it to be and more. The labs were actually, like, ridiculously fun. The exams were an absolute nightmare, though. Ah yes, our friends have arrived. So, there were 2 exams in LITEC, and there was this story that I had heard from a physics mentor, which I also facilitated physics this semester. That was pretty fun. I liked proctoring exams, grading stuff, and I would do it later in other classes that were more akin to my field. To talk to some of these guys here. This is the origin of Captain Toad! Shining his light on my face. There's Pickaxe Toad. Apparently some of these toads have official names, or something like that. I like to think that this guy is Toadbert from Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. Because he's got the blue cap and the glasses. Oh, there go 2 star bits into the oblivion of stars and stuff. Anywho, yeah, so... he's homesick, right? Yeah. And there's a male toad too, right? Or does he come later? I think he just comes later. So, yeah, I mean, the labs were a ridiculous time. Some of them were insane. Some of them, well, there was one that was just horrendous because the chip that we were working with was so noisy. In terms of its data collection, which made the lab hell, and made collecting data hell, and made the control algorithm we had to write hell. But the real hell that was in that class was was the was the exams. The exams were an absolute nightmare because the questions themselves weren't necessarily difficult. A lot of them were quite easy, especially since you could take the manual with you for the exam. It was just that the exams were so unbelievably long for the time period that you were given. And so you just had to work ridiculously fast. I managed to do very well on the first exam. Not on the second one, though. But hey, I did 0.5 above the class average on the second exam. Also, be careful here. If you shake, you might die. So you have to be there. Also, I hate this block. It's so dumb. Because you can only get like 3 star bits out of it before it goes away. It's, yeah, I got 4, but yeah, that block's kind of retarded. Yeah, there are also some really funny moments. Like, something would happen while we're like testing our code, and my group, which let me tell you something. There were 2 main groups that I worked with that semester. There was one for LITech and there was one for engineering processes. One was good, one was bad. The good one was LITech. My god, we would laugh so hard at just like random stuff that we would do while like writing the code or like testing it. There was also this one time we went to get our stuff checked off, which getting checked off in labs is one hell of a process because it's a one-time thing. You can't like ask to get checked off and then they'll be like, oh, you got almost everything, so we'll get back to you. No, you can't do that. You have to get it right the first time, otherwise you lose a lot of points. Or you just get a 0 or something like that. It's not something that you want to do multiple times, and you know, that message was gotten. And yeah, there were times where we'd have to work very late into the night on it. In open shop, but hey, I mean, you know. So the second lab, we were getting it checked off, and oh, that's a low battery. Well, it's been a while for me. Not for you. There'll be a cut. The camera ran out of battery. I had to charge it, and for a couple nights I wasn't able to record this. But that's fine because we're back now. And you know, we'll be good for that now. Now, where were we? Ah, yes, that's right. We were talking about the lab checkup process. So there was one lab where also you can collect a bunch of star bits prematurely if you do that, and then they just take a while to show up. It's funny. I could do this, or I could grab. Isn't there a rainbow star here? No. Okay, maybe it's later down. But so specifically lab 2, we had to, each of us had to design an embedded control-based game. Like this little mini game that we play with buttons and LEDs. It was pretty basic. I had one that I was able to figure out relatively decently. Although the random generation of it was just kind of funny. Even though I was seeding it, I would often get like similar ones. So like, when we were getting checked off. Also, this planet is shaped very suggestively. When we were getting, there it is, nice, it landed right on me. When we were getting checked off, it played this specific configuration of the game, and I just started speed running through it, and my lab partners were fucking losing it. It was so funny. And I was doing this like in front of the TA who was checking me off. Oh my god, it was hilarious. And like during the checkoff process, sometimes they'll ask you to like solve problems where they allow you to look at the manual or use a calculator or whatever's necessary, as long as you know the process. So you can do that kind of thing. And there was this problem that very clearly would have been like a look through the manual and or use a calculator type problem, and I just fucking did it in my head. You just like, so so you know, you're aware of how many cycles the timer takes per second. How many does it take in 2? And I was just like, oh, 675. And he's like, yeah. Wait, what? Me and my lab partners lost it again. Oh man, that was That was a classic. Ow! That was a classic. I'm taking another class that's very similar to Litech in this upcoming fall, and I hope that I get some similar enjoyment out of it. Oh, nice. Good jump, Mario. No, this is okay. I get to stall for time. There's more things I want to talk about. The only thing I'm worried about is apparently one of my Joy-Cons didn't charge for no particular reason, so I'm on a bit more of a timetable than usual, although to be fair, it's sort of a race to see which one can die first. My left Joy-Con or my camera. I did say that I fully charged it. That doesn't mean it has a lot of charge. It never does. So yeah, as for my other class, Engineering Processes, the one with the bad group, well, it was bad just mainly because it was a two-person group and I kind of had to carry. And it wasn't exactly something I was good at either. Let me get a coin real quick. There we go. I don't really need it since this is a mini-boss and it's easy, but, you know. Oh! What a move! I've been side somersaulting a lot more often. Usually I backwards somersault, but it's a little funny to do that. It's a little funny to do that in this version, so I might be side somersaulting a little more often. But I should make sure I'm still good with backwards somersaulting. That's always important. So yeah, Engineering Processes, it was like a machine shop class, and you had to either make a cannon or a train. I chose a train because I have a friend who really likes trains. Obvious ASDF movie joke is obvious. And I wanted to give that trainer as a gift. And each lab partner would make their own train. And so, yeah, it was a pass-fail class, but it ended up being like one of the most stressful classes because of it. So, yeah. And a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was inconveniently scheduled at a time that, like, every 4 classes, the class would have to be canceled because of a scheduled power outage in the building for maintenance. So we just lost a whole bunch of time. And my partner would just never show up to open shop, so it would always just be me. But don't you worry. We'll finish off this video with how I was able to handle all of that. But first, let me tell what I think was the funniest story that came out of that entire semester. So, it's sort of, it takes a combination of multiple classes in order to create this kind of insanity to happen. So, fairly consistently, I would get some of the, I would stay up for incredibly long periods of time, and I have gone on record saying that I essentially, like, sacrificed my fucking body in order to succeed in fall 2019, and that's hardly an exaggeration. And I think this story I'm about to tell is the absolute epitome of that. So, Foundations of Computer Science was an interesting class because of the way that the sections of your grade and how they were handled. Homework was 10% of your grade, and there were 3 tests, each of them worth 10% of your grade, so that's 30% of your grade all right there. I accidentally shook there. That was real smart of me. And then there is a midterm exam, which is worth 25% of your grade, and a final exam worth 35% of your grade. So a single exam problem on either the midterm or the final is worth like 3 homework assignments. It was absurd, but, you know, you had to do the homeworks because the exam problems are very similar to the homework problems, and you need all the practice you can get with that kind of conceptual, theoretical kind of stuff, because it's all discrete, like theoretical proof-writing math bullshit. So you need all the help that you can get, basically. I feel like I'm missing a question mark coin. Am I? I feel like there's a bee suit that I just kind of like need and I'm not getting. Because why else would that bubble be there? Right? I hope I'm not going insane. Like, maybe there's like a B-suit thing that here, like the trapped in crystal. Yeah, there we go. Okay, got it. We're good now. Let me grab that. There we go. All right, let's head back over. So yeah. So the homeworks in Foundations of Computer Science were extremely time-consuming. Did that stop me from doing them last minute? Of course not. Why would it? Awesome B-suit fail, by the way. Playing like a journalist right now. But that's okay. This is all part of the plan. This gets me to stall for time so I can talk more. Also, I can use the excuse of getting used to new controllers, because I don't usually play with Joy-Cons to play Galaxy. Every excuse is on the table right now. It's perfect. But yeah, so the homeworks were ridiculously time-consuming. More so than they often needed to be. And there was one specific homework where, you know all those memes where, like for example, the meme where Flats shows up in SpongeBob's boating school class. And we're about to fight Bugaboo. And Flats shows up and it's like, problem 1, problem 2, problem 3. And then he turns and he's way wider. And you see problem 1, section A, subsection Roman numeral I, Roman numeral 2, B, C, and then you finally get to problem 2, and each question's a multi-parter, and it's bullshit. Well, that's like every question in computer science and engineering, and it's pretty crazy. Well, I mean, it's fairly common for there to be like 3-parters, 4-parters, 5-parters. We had a 30-part question on one of the homeworks. 30! 3-0! Yeah, I had to deal with that one night. I was just like, oh, this won't take so. That's 30 parts to a question. Now, you might be thinking, oh, those poor students and poor me. Well, you're right. Also, those poor graders who have to grade every individual fucking problem. And as someone who would later be a grader for that class, I'm glad that that wasn't a question during the semester I took it, let me tell you that. That would have been painful. Made quick work of Bugaboo. So, that 30-part question, and each individual part of it was hard. It wasn't just like, oh, easy solution to all 30 parts, maybe a couple of them. No, like, almost all of them took an insane amount of thought. So, that was a full-scale all-nighter. I was in my dorm's lounge for hours and hours with some of my friends in that class. Oh, 666 starbits, nice. There's the Hungry Luma. We'll be getting there eventually in this video. And we do have enough starbits for that, so that's good. Don't need to grind. Let's head over to the next galaxy, which is the Loop-de-Loop. Anywho, so yeah, we spent hours and hours on that homework in the lounge all the way through the night. Finally finished at like 7:30-ish, because not only do we have to solve all the problems, but then you have to painstakingly transcribe it into a typesetting program called LaTeX, which... bragging about your knowledge of LaTeX is sort of like going around with a shirt that says, I never lose my virginity because I never lose. It's that kind of a program. I don't particularly see the reason for it when you could just have good handwriting. And I don't have the best handwriting, but it's so much easier to just have good handwriting and put effort into that than spend hours transcribing a homework into something like LaTeX. But we had to do it. Oh, okay, motion control time. Okay. Oh, we do this way, okay. Good. Alright, we got it. Is it just the Wiimote? Or, yeah, technically just the Wiimote. Just the right Joy-Con, okay. That's good, because it's my left one that's low battery. So, that's good. Speaking of... Well, hopefully that won't be too problematic. I can't... A is to accelerate? What? I don't remember that being a thing. Oh, is it just to accelerate through here? That might be the case. And then you just hold forward. No, you press... You have to hold A to do that. Oh, you shake to jump. Got it. Okay. Got it. We're good. So, we were staying up all through the night. I finally submitted it with a little bit of time to spare. And then I looked at my clock and realized I would not have time to sleep that morning because I had recitation for multivariable calculus and matrix algebra in like an hour and a half. So, I dejectedly got ready for that class, stalled a little bit of time, and then went over there. Barely awake. Then I go through the Foundations of Computer Science lecture, or FOX for short, FOX lecture, and, you know, barely stay awake through that. It helped that, again, greatest lecturer of all time, really funny and loud, helped me stay awake through that, get through the pop quizzes during that lecture. Pop quizzes are in that class, but they're specifically for extra credit. No sub 1 minute, but that's okay. I stalled a little at the beginning. You know, I could probably get the sub 1 if I tried. Which I suppose if I need to stall for time, I could do that. So yeah. It wasn't exactly uncommon for me to get so little sleep that during one of the classes that day, I'd be like nodding off during lecture. You know, doing the whole... But that day was taken to the extreme. There, especially during LITEC lecture, which I sometimes called labcture, because it was sort of like part of it was lecture, and then you just spent the rest of the block doing labs. There's the other galaxy. That's the enemy base! So yeah, man. I'm dying. So yeah, that one, it wasn't just me going like this. It was like violent. There was one moment where like I was jolted awake by the feeling of my bottom jaw hitting my top jaw. I was like... And I think my lab partners noticed. And it was one of the higher concept lectures in that class. It was on like inter-integrated circuit stuff, I2C. And like bus communication, all that kind of thing. UART, all that stuff, crossbar, yeah. So, the professor asks a question to the class. And in my like semi-slumber stupor, I'm just like, oh wait, I know the answer to this question, and I raise my hand, and I answer it. and he says, and I quote...
Huh, I'm glad someone's awake.
It took every ounce of my sleep-deprived body to not burst into hysterical laughter. And then as soon as lab block was over, I went to my dorm and went out cold. So, you know, happy endings and all that, which overall for the semester also was the theme for it, which I am happy for. I almost just died. Oh, nice! There we go. This is the star where Vinny died on it, and then he got into, like, a discussion on what happens with black holes, and then he's like, "Does somebody say spaghetti? Luigi, I'm going into the black hole!" I love that bit. Anyway, so yeah, that was probably the funniest thing that came out of that fucking semester. Now let's talk about one of the worst things that came out of the semester. There was a specific day in November where Murphy's Law just decided to have a fucking field day. So previously, in that week, I had started to develop a little bit of a cold. It started like on Saturday night. Oh, we're not doing anything here. We're going to the Hungry Luma. It started, and it sort of epitomized what I would later have to do. So I woke up, and it was like the worst day of the cold. I was super... I felt like shit from the cold, but I also felt like shit because I had just slept through almost all of the computer components and operations lab block. So I was already late to that, so I hurried over as fast as I could to try and get as much done in that lab block as I could, so there'd be less to make up in the future. And the lab, it just so happens to be the hardest lab that semester in that class. It's like the one that everybody made up in one of the makeup studio blocks later in the semester. Studio lab, same thing. So I go over there, and I finally get like a bit of a start in the simulation program, and then my nose starts bleeding. I'm just like, ugh. I'm just like, fucking great. This is the greatest day ever, man. Also, this star is ridiculously hard if you don't long jump. I'm gonna see if I can do it without long jumping. Partially because if I do it, if it involves dying a lot, that means getting lots of star bits because the stage has lots of star bits, and it means I get to stall for time. Because there's a lot more things I want to talk about. Anyway, so, here we go. Got a checkpoint. That Toad just said, I can't go any fart. Good to know. It's good to know, bud. So yeah, my nose starts bleeding. I've been awake for like an hour and already like 5 terrible things have happened. To put on top of this, I have to go to Engineering Processes Open Shop because me and my lab partner are behind in that class, primarily because of my lab partner. And on top of that, I have a test in Foundations of Computer Science later that day that I also have to prepare for. So it was just like everything bad that could happen. And I ended up doing well in the quiz, or the test, but not as well as I wanted to do. Also, wow, I made that star look easy. That is not easy to do without long jumps. Now all we have left is the Grand Star, and I have a lot more things that I want to talk about, so this is going to be... it's going to be a little awkward to try and fit it all in, but I'll see if I can make it work. I'll stall at the end like I did last time if need be. So yeah, and like the day ended with me only focusing on like the fact that I got like 1 or 2 questions wrong on the test that I could have very easily gotten a perfect score on, and the fact that I was still very behind in my engineering processes project. But this is perfect music for what I'm about to talk about, because just before Thanksgiving, the worst possible thing that could happen ended up happening in that class. I opened the drawer for my section one day in engineering processes, and my project was not there. My lab partner's project was also not there. They were gone. Were they stolen? Were they misplaced? Do I know whose fault it was? No. Who knows? All I knew was that all of my hard work had just been reduced to nothing. I found a couple other scraps of projects that I was able to get some progress done and got a significant portion of the way back, but I had so much ground to make up. And I knew going home for Thanksgiving, the only thing on my mind was the mountain that I had to climb in order to make it out of fall 2019 a victor. And my return back to campus after Thanksgiving, well, was a perfect example of the road I had ahead of me. Let's talk about how I managed to wrap everything up nicely. Starting with the day that I came back. Well, at the last second, the Greyhound ticket that I had to take a bus back to campus was canceled. It was canceled last minute. Why? Because a blizzard was happening on that day. That Sunday that I was going back. Let's kill a couple Blue Beetles by doing that. It's fun. Let's get this one up. I managed to get another ticket, but it required me to wake up before 5 a.m. on a Sunday. So, it was less than ideal. The blizzard obviously was still happening, and it was a long blizzard. It was the real deal. So much of the real deal, in fact, that classes were canceled that following Monday. And I found it kind of a novel concept that I was able to just stay home for a full day and just stay in my dorm and stay inside. If I knew it was happening the following year, I probably would have been horrified of it. So, yeah. Oh, I almost made it up top. Anyway, so I actually wasn't too thrilled at the idea, however, that classes were canceled, because I kind of needed open shop that day in order to work on the final lab for LITEC. So we had to make up all of that work the following Wednesday. On top of this, the amount of time that I had in order to finish my engineering processes project was heavily numbered. And I actually had to miss lectures and other classes in order to do it. I missed lectures in a whole bunch of my other classes, almost all of them, to try and make sure that I would get this project done. And I made the calculation, the calculated decision that I would be able to finish my project, but my lab partner would not be able to finish hers. And that calculation was right. I basically spent every second of open shop possible in open shop working on my project, and I finished with like an hour to spare. Checked off my train. I remember being like, hey, I finished my train, and the professor's like, huh, looks very train-like. He checked me off, I finished the last sections of the class, and then it was just the final exam in that class to do, which I was also worried about, but I ended up apparently making that final exam, I made that final exam look easy. So that's good. There's a lot more to talk about, so I'm probably going to be doing the whole stalling thing. So, engineering processes, done. I didn't have to worry about that anymore. But I still had other loose ends to tie up. Namely, LITEC, which thankfully did not have a final exam, but still had a lab for me to finish. Oh, we get to hear this sound. You don't get to hear this sound ever again in the game, so I just wanted to point that out. Might as well hop in that fountain. We'll also hop over to the garage first, though, because we got some more time to kill. So later that week, I also had my third exam for multivariable calculus and matrix algebra, and it didn't go well. Due in no small part to the fact that I had to forego a lot of the lectures leading up to that exam in order to pass engineering processes. But thankfully, it seemed like I wasn't the only person who had a lot of trouble with that exam. Because that final lecture after the exam, he was just like, so how was that third exam? We were all just like murmuring to each other. He's like, Yeah, I think I'm gonna curve that exam for you guys. And we're just like, oh. Like, he didn't have to do that. The average is probably in the 70s. A lot of classes that I'm in are like, oh, 70% average? That's what I wanted. He's like, oh, that's too low. I'll curve it. I remember the final lecture for that class ended, and everyone applauded. One of the best professors I've ever had. That's the spirit, Mushroom Man, Yu-Gi-Oh! Yep, we'll be getting mail deliveries soon, that is true. So we learned this here now. We can just, you know, do that. We learned that in the last episode of Catching Up, that we can just say, screw the little Disney logo thing. We can just do that. So, we managed to finish the final lab in LITEC. I remember going that Sunday where there were 6 hours left in Open Shop, where we were able to try and get that lab done and then collect data so we could do the report. Now, the data we could collect mostly on our own time, but the checking off we really needed to do that day. I came there fully prepared to spend all 6 hours working on that lab, and it actually wasn't on the smart car that we usually work on. It was on like this gondola with spinning propellers and shit, and it had like magnets on it and stuff, and you had to stabilize them. It was pretty goddamn cool, but the algorithms we had to write for it were pretty intense. And so I remember there was this, sometimes there would be like a keypad on there, and we would set like a degree level that it would want to stabilize at. And we had it at a point, like we kept trying to adjust it and optimize it, and we had it at a point where it would like almost stabilize, but it would like overcorrect eventually and then just like rotate. And we were like scouring the code for a while and trying as best we could to find a solution to the problem. And then I noticed, I was just like, wait a minute. We're not initializing that one variable. Let's set it to 0 before the code starts. We do that, but then that also creates a couple other bugs. So then we fix those, we run it, and it goes... and immediately stabilizes. And I think part of that was due to some of the optimizations we had done previously trying to fix it, but it worked so well, and we managed to get it checked off in like a little under half the time that was allotted for Open Shop, so I was able to go home a happy man that day. But that wasn't it. Oh, no. Even after the reports were done, I had 3 final exams, so then it was time for the final exam gauntlet. Now, I had mentioned back in the most recent vlog, the Is This Optimal vlog, that my final form likes to come out during these kinds of end of semester actions, as long as there's motivation present, you know? And if that motivation hits a certain threshold, final form Jodan54 comes out and absolutely wrecks everything. That happened in fall 2018, it happened in spring 2019, and I was banking on it happening again in fall 2019. Well, it did! So my first final exam was multivariable calculus and matrix algebra, and I made an absolutely busted formula sheet that basically had everything on it that I could possibly need in order to do well on that exam. And that's exactly what happened. I ended up acing that final exam with a 97. Mario celebrating as well. The next exam, the next 2 exams actually, there was like very little time in between them. It was like an hour in between them. And it was Foundations of Computer Science and Computer Components and Operations. Both final exams were worth a ton towards my final grade. And both of them looked to be obscenely difficult. I walked into the Fox final exam knowing that I had a very good formula sheet. What I didn't know was that the formula sheet would be so ludicrously broken that most of the final exam took me very little effort. I choked a problem that involved expected value and probability, and I got everything else perfectly right. with time to spare. I got every single multiple choice question right, and ended up acing the Foundations of Computer Science final exam with a 96.4 or something. This was the final exam that people at like career fairs at RPI were telling me like this like people cry after leaving that exam with that specific professor as well. So, and it wasn't like that was just an uncharacteristically easy final. No. That was a tough one. Like, I remember going back on the forums for that class, and like everybody was talking about taking an L on it and shit. It was like me after taking an L on that final. I fought, I lost, now I rest. And then someone responded like, when you pass fail a class and still fail, and then there were like 15 people who upvoted it saying thanks. I'll see if I can put screenshots in for that. That's funny as shit. Just thanks, 15. Or whatever number it was. So then the last final exam was Computer Components and Operations. And I was worried about this one because there were previous final exams for me to study for Foundations of Computer Science, and there was a detailed study guide for multivariable calculus and matrix algebra. For Computer Components and Operations, we were given one practice final exam, and that's it. And there were no other practice final exams or back final exams for that class that I could find. So a friend and me went down to the lounge and we studied that final as much as we could and tried to understand as much as possible for that. And oh my god, that was an extremely difficult final, and I absolutely did not finish that final. And once again, I walked out and realized I was not alone, and very much realized I was not alone when the results came out and the average was like a 57. And I got like a 77. Which was, at the time, the lowest final exam grade I had gotten, but considering the curve applied to that class, I was looking towards potentially getting a pretty good grade. What I was worried about, though, was the way that grades specifically in that class are handled. There's no pluses or minuses. Which means a 90 is an A. That's pretty good. But an 89 is a B. So the question was, did I do well enough for a solid A, a 4.0? Or am I going to have to settle for... What, is a B a 3.0? Because A is a 4.0, and then A minus is 3.67, and then, yeah, so that's a 3.0. I'm pretty sure. So, yeah. So, I was patiently awaiting as my final grades came in. Engineering processes, I already passed. I got credit for my physics facilitating. And then Foundations of Computer Science came in. And somehow I didn't even get an A minus in that class. I got an A in it. There was so much curving in that class that I managed to get an A in that class. It was ridiculous. And then LITSIC came in. That one was an A minus. And I was proud of getting an A minus in that class because of how hard it was. And I was just waiting on Computer Components and Operations. There were a couple, I was like live tweeting my grades coming in, and then my last one came in, and I fucking lost my mind because I got an A in Computer Components and Operations. It was a legendary week, let me tell you that. And you know, I was also able to tie up loose ends with my friends before going home. I was able to say goodbye to all of them in the ways that I actually wanted to. And I was also able to tour an off-campus apartment that I was potentially looking at for junior year. So I was able to basically do everything and then some that week. And for those on my channel who follow Geometry Dash, this was also the week that Kinos was verified, which, as you know, was kind of a historic moment in the game's history. So that week was just like a full week of finality for me and everything that I was involved in. And man, it would have been great if time just ended right there. because it would have ended on a very, very high note, and I would have been extraordinarily happy with it. I came home, and I uploaded 2 videos. I uploaded a reaction video and a walkthrough part. And I was thinking, oh, turn of the year, it's also going to be the turn of the decade. I'm going to upload a whole bunch more. Oh boy. Yeah, about that. Well, stay tuned for the next episode of Catching Up, because things are about to get a lot gloomier. But for now, that's all. I'll catch you in the next episode of Catching Up. Until then, keep looking forward, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Mario, don't go to sleep.